Alrighty, got a little bit extra lead time there while I set up the tabs, the browser tabs. Forgot to do that before I started recording. Been really kind of futzing around here for about call it half an hour, 40 minutes or so. Really just chilling out after a long day of work. You know how Mondays are, right? Am I right, Garfield? Anyways, we'll get into this thing. I have donned my new Glarus button-up T-shirt that is currently unbuttoned. So yeah, we're really we're slumming it tonight. Ain't nothing wrong with that though, man. We have got another division preview coming up. This time we have got the NFC South. Obviously, I'm very high on the Buccaneers, but what do I think about the other teams there? Mostly not good things, but we'll talk about that here in just a bit. I got some headlines for you first and foremost, but this is Unqualified Analysis. I am your host, Caleb. You can follow me on the socials at CalebVUA. Shoot me a DM if you want to contribute to the show in any way, shape, or form. Outside of that, we're going to try and not play a game of chicken with the battery today, that it seems like an inevitability. So I'll get a swig of this here Gatorade, left over from this morning. I'm a pig, but you know, I just like it to be cold, so I'll put a half bottle of Gatorade back in the fridge. I'm not above that. I'm not above that at all, and I think you should do it too at home. But let me get a swig of this here real quick. Probably some fun audio as I was talking into the bottle there, but let's just get straight into the headlines. We'll try and get through these fairly quickly, but there is some good meat on the bone there to sink our teeth into. First off, correction from last week. Confusing news, and it was a unfortunate time to be recording the show because I read off the tweet from Ian Rappaport about Tyler Guyton, believed to have a torn ACL as he was heading into the MRI. That's the part that I really misread because I was recording the podcast. Going into the MRI, it was believed that he had a torn ACL. He goes into that MRI, though. They do the scan. Turns out, no torn ligaments, just a fractured bone, tibia, the fibula, the femur. I don't know which one. There's a fractured bone in there. 4 to 6 weeks. He'll be all good to come back. So good news for the Cowboys. I don't think it'll save them. I still think they're going to miss the playoffs and probably finish somewhere 8-9, 7-10. Just not really flirting with it even. I mean, that whole situation is getting real interesting. Trust me. You probably already know what I'm referring to, but we'll get to that here in just a second. Outside of that, just had to make that correction because I was dead wrong. I was spreading misinformation. I apologize for that. I'm just product of the moment. Product of the moment, folks. But we'll keep it moving from there. We're going to bump that down a little bit because there was a bigger trade request. We had Micah Parsons. First, it was reported he was at his wit's end with the Cowboys franchise. Diana Rossini said he wasn't happy. Then a couple hours later, he comes out, puts out a long statement on Twitter. I ain't reading all that. I get the gist of it. He wants a trade. The insiders read it. That's good enough for me. And the reason why I don't really care is because he's most likely not getting traded. But boy, oh boy, that did not stop the team from reacting, the fans from reacting. The fans reacted predictably, like pretty much everyone should react. Why are you even playing hardball with this guy? Pay that man his money. Probably good to do it sooner rather than later, which Jerry Jones never does. He's completely set in his ways, and he gets worse as an owner every day, and he's a GM too, which is part of the issue. Probably the real issue when it comes to this team is Jerry Jones, the GM, more so than Jerry Jones is the owner, but those two are pretty hard, if not impossible, to separate. I digress on that front. Just pay Micah Parsons his money. You could have done this a couple years ago at this point. Really, maybe not a couple years ago, but you could have done this last year. I think they had the opportunity. I think his contract was ready to be extended last year. I don't understand. It feels like such a short-sighted thing to go ahead and play hardball, wait for as long as you possibly can, and then give him a big-time contract extension. It benefits the players more, so I doubt they care too much. But in the long run, by and large, you're going to be saving money by paying the guy sooner. I don't know why, particularly Jerry Jones, and really all the bad teams do this. Well, just say that. All the bad teams do this. They wait forever to sign their players. Ultimately, they're going to pay him anyways, and they paid probably a good $5 million more, maybe less. I don't necessarily know the exact number there, but estimated at like $5 million more than they probably would have had to pay if they just paid him earlier. That's on a per year basis. So I don't know. I mean, I think he gets paid, but then again, I thought Khalil Mack would get paid with the Las Vegas Raiders, and that clearly did not happen. Well, I guess he was on a contract, but I didn't expect him to get traded. But that's the comp that we're looking at. It's about as comparable as you can get, and you could probably say that Micah Parsons is an even better pass rusher at this point, though Khalil Mack did go on to win a Defensive Player of the Year with the Bears, I'm fairly certain. So let's all not forget that. But 2 first-round picks, I believe, for Khalil Mack, a bevy of high mid-round compensation to go with that. That's the comparable history. We'll see. I mean, I just don't feel like entertaining the possibility because I don't think it's going to happen. I think it is a not minuscule, like give it like a 10% chance maybe, but I'd say that's even on the high end for what people would generally be expecting here. I mean, they're going to pay Micah Parsons at some point. It's just how much of a clown show does Jerry Jones want to run here? I mean, the team was, maybe not on the brink of a mutiny, but CeeDee Lamb came out in support. DeMarvion Overshown, who's coming back from an injury, he came out in support. And yeah, there's a whole lot of hullabaloo going around the Cowboys camp. Although, you know what? Jerry Jones just loves the publicity, and it's part of the reason why, 1, the team is so profitable, and 2, why they're not a serious organization. They're not a serious organization, man. Just go look at their past decisions. But yeah, things got messy there. I would almost expect a deal to come here before the regular season happens. And I say deal vaguely on purpose because he's either probably getting a contract extension or he's getting traded, I feel like. I don't think he's going to get traded. I just feel like they're going to pay him at some point. Also, I believe they actually did pay CeeDee Lamb last year, so that's on me. I definitely didn't think that all the way through. But I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens going forward, man. It's the Cowboys. I get it. They're very popular, and credit to Jerry Jones for that, pretty much. But, man, I want to talk about organizations that can win. So we'll talk about the Commies, which we'll see if they can win. We're only in year 2 of this new regime. A good start, but we'll see where it goes. Terry McLaurin has requested a trade as well. Another guy that I do not think will be traded. Not when you have Jaden Daniels on a rookie deal. Again, this is another one where I don't know why they're not just paying him. But ultimately, I guess it is like probably a higher likelihood that Terry McLaurin gets traded away just because he's older. He's in his low 30s. Let's not get crazy here, but he's looking for big time money, and at that age, it is more of a risk to do so. So it probably more likely that he gets traded than Micah Parsons, but it's still, negligible by comparison to the likelihood that he gets paid. And honestly, I feel even stronger about this because I think of the roots of Adam Peters. From 2017 to 2024, he was in various high-ranking roles in the personnel side in the 49ers organization. Basically helped build that thing from the ground up through all of those years that he was there. One thing that the 49ers do, which is, not super characteristic of a lot of good teams, is they do wait forever, and they do these like very Jerry Jones style hardball plays with their players. They did it to Nick Bosa. They did it to Brandon Ayuk, who requested a trade on the down low. He got paid. Deebo Samuel, before he got traded from the 49ers, he requested a trade previously, got paid, and you can probably just go down the list. I didn't do deep research on that, but that's the 49ers playbook, is they wait forever, they wait until the last second, and then they ultimately just pay them. Again, I don't get it, but it is the 49ers playbook at the end of the day, and Adam Peters was instrumental in building of that 49ers team, so you're not going to tell me that him and John Lynch are going to approach things in a similar fashion. So with that in mind and through that lens, they're not going to trade Terry McLaurin. It would make no sense with Jaden Daniels on his rookie year. Just, go ahead and trade your number 1 receiver when you don't really have a great receiving core. He is the gem in that receiving core. That would make 0 sense whatsoever. Just pay the man. You can afford to overpay because you have that guy on his rookie deal. That guy being the quarterback of the football team, which is almost always the highest expense, especially if you have a good veteran quarterback or, if, God forbid, a superstar quarterback. You're paying top dollar for that service. When you have a guy on a rookie deal that came off the season that he had as a rookie, now is the time to go all in. You saw the Vikings do it this offseason, and they don't even really know what J.J. McCarthy's going to be. You have a pretty good idea of what Jaden Daniels is going to be. Just pay the people you got to pay. Don't make it too dramatic. Just pay them and keep this thing pushing for a playoff run. I'm a little bit skeptical on it this year. We will see. I feel very strongly about Jaden Daniels, but I don't know. We'll have to see how everything else holds up in year two. I'm not totally sold on that one, but I don't know. Just pay the man his money. Don't mess around with this trade nonsense. Next one up here, Trey Hendrickson back with the Bengals, but he is now holding in, so not much has changed other than he decided to forego Florida for the beautiful, right on the shores of the Ohio River. The practice field is actually just right there, right by the river. So why not be there in beautiful, sunny Cincinnati? Why not, man? That's another one. I would assume he's going to get paid, but you want to talk about unserious organizations. The Bengals have never been a serious organization. There's not much to talk about there. It's still a stalemate. There's still basically no communication because, again, the Bengals are not a serious organization. They're a mom and pop shop that just happens to be a football team. Happens to be a damn near $1 billion enterprise. Probably more than that if you're talking valuation purposes there. That's just the Bengals. That's just the Bengals. It is what it is. Let's get to more extension news, shall we? We had a lot, and this is a good time of year for extensions to happen right there in training camp. You got the player in the building there by default. Agent can probably come along with the player to work, bring your agent to work day. He goes into the room with the GM. They hammer out some details, yada, yada, yada. Seems like a lot of extensions happen around training camp time. And here we go with a couple of them. First off, Colton Miller, I believe that's a tackle. I put guard here for some reason, but I believe Colton Miller is a tackle for the Las Vegas Raiders. He gets a 3-year, $66 million extension. This coming down the pipe today. Falcons tackle Caleb McGarry gets 2 years, $15 million from the Falcons. Broncos defensive line Zach Allen gets a massive 4-year, $102 million extension, putting him right up there with some of the highest paid defensive linemen in football. Well deserved. He is a monster, much more impactful in the run game, but is a very versatile player, is very valuable to that great defense in Denver. Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely, well, this isn't extension news, but Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely is having foot surgery. He's probably out 6 weeks. Which is, again, could have been a Liz Frank, which is season ending. So that's good. That's good that it wasn't. I wouldn't say there's much reason to play him in week 1. I guess it's technically a possibility, but why in your right mind would you play a guy like that in week 1, knowing his injury history? He seems to get some sort of nick every single year. It feels like you have a long runway here. You have a Super Bowl caliber team. Why on earth would you rush Isaiah Likely back out there? I wouldn't be shocked if he sits out for week 2 as well, just to make absolutely certain. Just get him healthy for the stretch run. Week 1 and 2 does not matter in the grand scheme of things. I'll just put it that way. It simply does not matter. So get him healthy. That's really all you should be worrying about. I feel like I skipped one here. I feel like I did. Either that or I just didn't. Yeah, I did skip one. I skipped one right between the Micah Parsons headline and the Caleb McGarry headline because I'm all out of order here. The Dolphins did give Zach Sealer an extension. I believe that's like 3 years, $60 million. I actually don't know that one for certain because I just, for whatever reason, did not get the contract details on that. Big extension, though. That's all you need to know. Well-deserved. I mean, that's... The Dolphins are in a position where they need to be keeping as many young core solid starters in the building as possible because, boy, they got a dearth of talent in various spots, especially on the back end. This isn't going to help it, but never a bad thing to have more good players around in your franchise for a long term. So congratulations to Zach Sealer getting paid. Outside of that, just got a couple more headlines here. So we'll get some more happy stuff out of the way before we get to a couple injuries to end off this headline segment. Colts, maybe they learned a lesson from this past offseason. Knowing, I keep forgetting his name. Knowing Chris Ballard, probably didn't learn much based on his previous personnel decisions. No disrespect to Chris Ballard. I think he's a good guy. I just don't know if he's doing that well as a GM and hasn't necessarily been held accountable for it, but I digress. They are being proactive, though, with their linemen after losing all of them. I mean, all of them outside of Quentin Nelson and Bernard Raymond. Already paid Quentin Nelson a few years ago. Why not go to Bernard Raymond this time? 4 years, $100 million, $60 million of those guaranteed for Bernard Raymond to stay in Indianapolis. So good news there. I'm sorry, Bernard Raymond. I was not familiar with your game. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. I apologize. So outside of that, we got a couple injuries left here. So this one's a gut punch. Martin Emerson Jr., promising young cornerback for the Cleveland Browns, formerly of Mississippi State, had some bad highlight tape against Auburn that one time where he was talking too much on the outside, then got immediately burned for a touchdown. But outside of that overshadowed a lot of great things he did in college. Got drafted in the 3rd round, has been very, very good at the next level. He tore his Achilles and will be out for the season, and he is in a contract year. That just, that's a gut punch because, listen, they probably parlay this thing. I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, I guess he's probably going into his 4th year, I would imagine. I know after year 3 is when you generally come up eligible for an extension. I don't know exactly how many years he's been in the league. I apologize for that. But I guess he probably parlay it into next year. I mean, if his contract is up after this year, which I think it is, that's not great because you're going to hit free agency ultimately. Maybe you sign a 1-year deal. I would expect a guy like Martin Emerson to sign a 1-year deal, whether it's with the Browns or with someone else. Just kind of a prove-it deal. But what a blow. He was in for a lot of money if he'd have stayed healthy this year, and that's just brutal, especially that injury at that position. The Achilles for a corner is, I mean, hey, shout out to Ward, Denzel Ward, his teammate. I'm sure that's a guy that he's going to be leaning on a lot this offseason, or really just throughout this season through the recovery to kind of help him through this and see how he did it, because that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head who came back from Achilles injury, was still a top-level corner whenever he got back. You can go right down the list. I mean, Tre'Davious White, that's really the one that pops into mind. He was, I mean, a shell of himself whenever he came back. A lot of players at the cornerback position, they get Achilles, and that's the kiss of death in a lot of situations. It's kind of like for a basketball player to get an Achilles injury, an explosive basketball player especially. Like, that's why the Jason Tatum thing was so devastating. Kevin Durant, that was devastating. I mean, he still came back and played at an all-star level, but wasn't the player that he was whenever he went out. So yeah, I hate that for Martin Emerson. Wish him the best. Hopefully he can, get a little bit of that magic from Denzel Ward and turn this thing around, get like a comeback player of the year sort of thing. I love nothing more than that, Martin. So best of health to you going forward. We love you here. As far as the Mississippi State faithful are concerned, we love you here. And the Dolphins, who really could not afford to sustain an injury in the secondary, they sustained a really big one here in Kader Kohou. He's out for the year with an ACL injury. That one confirmed by the MRI. So already cornerback needy team, got rid of Jalen Ramsey, brings in Minkah Fitzpatrick, and probably the best one that you had left in Kader Kohou. I know he's a nickel from what I understand, but still a very valuable player in the defense. He is out with an injury. So for the year. So yeah, I'm telling y'all, you need to temper your expectations in the Dolphins if you have any at all, because 9-8 is just about the ceiling for this team. They could maybe get 10 wins if they were extremely lucky. This is not a team, even if they find their way into the playoffs, we know what is going to happen when they get there. And some might say that's not fair to kind of dismiss them outright. Okay, we don't want to dismiss them outright. Their offensive line is bad. I guess, they made some additions. We'll see how it works out, but it's still bad. Secondary is terrible. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball as effectively as they have been over the last couple of years. I don't think their defense is going to be all that good this year. I mean, we still don't know. I mean, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Williams or Jalen Phillips are not getting any younger, and they've both had big time injury histories. So we can't just wave our fingers, take it, snap our fingers, guarantee that that's all going to work out at the end of the day. I do not think the Dolphins are going to be very good. I'm putting my cards out there. Hey, if you want to call it dismissive, call it dismissive. But ultimately, that's just where I fall on this. Get this bug off of my shit. Okay? Yeah. All right. So that's pretty much all for the headlines there. Where are we at time-wise? Yeah, whatever. Yeah. We're making good time. So with that said, gotta get another swig of this here Gatorade. Gonna gird our loins right quick. Get a little burp out there. Then we're gonna get ourselves into the NFC South here. So you know the deal. We just go down reverse standings order. I tell you what I think of each team. Give them a nice little range of wins here, where I think they're gonna fall at the end of the year. And obviously, I'm going to try and say it every episode. This is with the caveat that there is not major injuries at the quarterback position. Major injuries at the quarterback position, I mean, if you want to put a floor and a ceiling on a team while factoring in the worst case scenario, the quarterback getting injured, every team could finish, potentially with the number one overall pick. I mean, if you take away their quarterback, the most important position on the field, or maybe they're not a number one overall pick if they have a great defense, but still, what do you want me to do on that front? So we assume if the quarterback is healthy, this is what they're probably going to do in my mind. With all of that said, we'll go down the standings, reverse order here, starting with the division winners from last year, and no drama here. They're my expected division winners this year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Very, very good team last year. They stand to only improve coming into this season. The defense has some question marks, but I am very high on this team. I think they are going to do very, very well this year. I think the running game, they found something with Bucky Irving last year. Rashad White still plays a huge role in this offense. One of the best pass-catching backs in the entire league. So, yeah, I still feel very strongly about this team. Now, am I sticking with my bold prediction they will be the number one overall seed? We'll see. We'll evaluate that by looking at the schedule after we are done actually looking at the full roster here. But enough of the interlude, enough of the preamble. Let's get into the team itself. So, what are we looking at here on offense? First off, obviously, you got Baker Mayfield back in there. A solid fringe top 10, just inside the top 10 sort of performing quarterback. Has done better and better with successive offensive coordinators who've gone on to have head coaching gigs fairly nearby. One went in the division, and the other one went in, the AFC South instead. So, the coordinators don't seem to go far for their head coaching gigs, but this is a head coaching gig factory at this point, kind of like Matt Ryan was with the Atlanta Falcons, same division going back. But he is a solid player, and I expect more of the same this year. I have no reason to expect that Baker Mayfield's going to have a big drop-off over the last couple of years because in a lot of ways, the receiving core, just as good as it has been, maybe even a little bit better. I mean, we got... Talking about the backfield first, we have got Bucky Irving at the running back, Rashad White as the backup behind him, Sean Tucker, not a bad third string option, but those top two are where the magic is going to happen. And as long as they keep using those two players effectively and in the correct way, they're going to still have a pretty solid running game, especially when you factor in the offensive line. Tristan Wirf's out right now, but he should be back in the lineup soon enough. Ben Bredesen there at left guard. Graham Barton, last year's first-round pick at center. Cody Mauch there at right guard, who's really turned into a solid player. And then Luke Gedeke at the right tackle. We'll see how it all works out. Not a top end offensive line, but a good enough offensive line with those running backs to go in there and have a solid running game. As far as the wide receivers are concerned, you still have Mike Evans there. Chris Godwin coming back from that injury that he sustained last year, that gruesome ankle injury, but he's expected to be back in there at some point. You drafted Emeka Egbuka in the first round, which I think is pretty solid pickup there. I probably believe in that one. Jalen McMillan, you're expecting a little bit more from him in year two, especially if Chris Godwin is not out there. And you still have, there's Trey Palmer, you've heard of that guy. He's like a rotational receiver, but he's in the rotation. He's where he belongs. Sterling Shepard, also same sort of thing. He's in the rotation. That's all you can ask for. Tez Johnson, the rookie, really buried on the depth chart. We'll see if he ends up playing special teams or what. It's probably a weight issue because he's just a beanpole out there. But solid, deep receiving core. It's just a matter of how good their new offensive coordinator is, which at this point, with Baker Mayfield having been there several years, or a couple years at this point, I suppose, you know what he likes to do. You keep certain plays around if you're Todd Bowles, and you mandate that they are incorporated into the new guy's offense. The more I think about it, an underrated thing about having a head coach that is a defensive-minded guy, just because he is not the guy calling the plays, doesn't mean you completely overhaul the system every year. You find plays at the quarterback that you have liked. The main thing is having stability at the quarterback position. If you can have stability at the quarterback position, you figure out what the guy likes. You can figure out what plays to keep around, what plays to get rid of. Let the new guy coming in kind of put his own spin on it. But at the end of the day, the bones of it and the favorite plays are all holdovers from previous regimes. And I think you can actually kind of make a interesting offensive scheme that way, kind of cobbling it together. Different philosophies, I suppose, but I think it's something that if you're a really, really good defensive coordinator and you're very good at that side of the ball as a head coach, and you're good at just kind of taking a few things here and there, you can sustain long-term success that way. And I think in a way that people don't necessarily give a whole lot of credit for, just because it's hard to develop a quarterback that way. But yeah, I believe very much in this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. It's top 10 unit for sure, as long as everyone stays healthy. That's my expectation for him, because that's just where the bar has been set. Great job by Jason Light and this front office by putting the offensive roster together. In the offensive line, you probably still want to get one more guy in there, if I had to guess. But overall, good unit from top to bottom. Good unit. Just keep going the way that you've been going. So what do we got here on the defensive side of the ball? We got Logan Hall there at the left defensive end. Vita Vea coming back for his, 57th year in the NFL. He's just a stone there. An unmovable object in the center of the defense, and kind of a throwback in that way. You don't necessarily see guys like that anymore. Very Haloti Ngata. Listen, man, just because it's not racist just because I said that. He's a absolute athletic freak for his size. That's why I say that. And also, let's not get it twisted. Haloti Ngata was one of the best defensive tackles of all time. People forget. But I was in Baltimore, in the Baltimore area in his heyday. Haloti Ngata, there are very few defensive tackles in NFL history that have anything on Haloti Ngata. He's a monster, absolute monster. Vita Vea, very, very good in his own right, though. Kind of plays a similar style. Kalijah Kancey here in year, is it 2 or 3? 2 or 3. I can't remember whether he came in last year or the year before. I think he came in last year, so you expect big things from Kalijah Kancey this year. Yaya Diaby showed you some things there on the outside last year. You'll see if he keeps that going. Not necessarily a guy that you want as your leading pass rusher, but a guy that you can work with. Anthony Walker and Levante David there in the middle. Then you got Hassan Reddick. Hey, if you didn't know, Hassan Reddick is on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for whatever he has left in the tank as well. He's going to be rushing opposite of Yaya Diaby. A couple guys where you're just like, okay, sure, why not? We'll see what happens. Todd Bowles, he doesn't have his hands full. He has some players to work with there on the front seven. It's not where you would want it to be, but with a defensive coordinator and a defensive mind like Todd Bowles, I think he can make it work there on the front seven, because Todd Bowles is going to blitz the hell out of him. You can bet your ass on that. On the back end, though, they got Zion McCollum, which did they bring in Zion McCollum this year? Or has he just been there? He's been there since 2022, actually. So stepping up for this defense. He's going to be out there on the outside. Tyke Smith on the other side. They definitely drafted him this year, right? No, they drafted him last year in the 3rd round. Just had some incumbents there last year that were taking up spots. Then you got Jamel Dean and Christian Izzian on the back end. Overall, kind of a middling defensive group, and that's where I kind of see him. I don't think Todd Bowles is going to let him be abjectly terrible. And they don't have an abjectly terrible group back there. Just maybe not like a top 10 sort of unit. I think it'll probably be somewhere in there, call it anywhere from 13 in a best case scenario, somewhere like 18, 19. I don't see him popping out of the teens, I will say, though. I don't really see him bumping in the top 10. I don't see him being 20s or worse in all likelihood. I think they're going to be right there in the middle. I think they're going to be good in the red zone. I think they're going to be porous at times as far as giving up yards. But ultimately, I think they're going to be good enough at keeping other teams off the board to where they are going to let their offense ball out and win some games for them. So, with that said, as far as my range of possible outcomes for this team, and I don't usually do this, but we'll go through the we'll go through the schedule just to be sure. We got Falcons, Texans, Jets, Eagles, Seahawks, 49ers, Lions, Saints, Patriots, Bills, Rams in back-to-back weeks on the road, by the way. Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, at Panthers, at Dolphins, and then home versus the Panthers to end off the season. So, as far as I could tell here, they do face a fairly difficult schedule when you factor in all the opponents that they have. But they've shown the ability to be giant killers at times throughout the last couple of years with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Kind of a wide range here. They could be 10 wins. I could see them all the way up to like 14, man. I'm still not too far off on my conviction with this team with the recklessly early predictions. I think they're going to be a really, really good team. I think they're a playoff team. And I think they have a chance to go deep if Baker Mayfield gets hot at the right time. We've seen quarterbacks do it before, and I don't think a guy like Baker Mayfield's going to shy away from the spotlight whenever the spotlight gets bright down towards the end of the season, especially assuming they host a playoff game, which I am assuming that they are going to win this division and not going to have a whole lot of drama in doing it. The Falcons may have something to say about that, but I could very easily see this team being the 1 seed if things go chaotically this year. They are a very good team. They will be a force to be reckoned with throughout the season. Even if they lose many of these games, I do not see them capitulating in those games. I think they're going to be a tough out no matter what the week is. They're a very good football team. With that said, let's go to some more flawed football teams. They will get progressively more flawed as we go along. So, starting off with our next one up here, the Atlanta Falcons. Had a disappointing year last year. Who the hell knows what they're doing with the quarterback situation. Kirk Cousins, still on the roster. People have talked about him like he's a free agent all offseason. He's just quietly still been there. Not really any trade going on, not getting cut. We'll see if anything develops in the trade side here as we go along. But, yeah, just chugging along. They were 8-9 last year, I believe. So we'll see if they can do a little bit better this year. But, yeah, we'll see. They're the Atlanta Falcons, so you can't really get your expectations too high. But if you are a Falcons fan, you have a young second-year quarterback. Showed some flashes at times last year in his limited snaps as after Kirk Cousins. Struggled, obviously, as rookies do, but did show some really good moments. So let's take a look at what the overall team looks like. Obviously, just talked about Michael Penix. What do you expect from him in year 2? Kind of all depends on how the offense shapes out. It was not very good last year. I can't remember if they made changes in the offense or not. I think they didn't really do much. I think they kept pretty much everyone in place. The personnel-wise, I don't really have a whole lot of I don't really have a whole lot of quibbles with the personnel. I mean, Bijan Robinson's your starting running back. Tyler Algier, absolute sledgehammer as the backup. I love that 1-2 punch. Bijan's one of the best backs in the entire league, and Tyler Algier will just bludgeon you to death. It's a great 1-2, very diverse skill set between the two of them. So I love that. Drake London, quietly one of the better receivers in the league, had a monster year last year. Darnell Mooney quietly had himself a pretty good year last year. I kind of told y'all it was going to happen because Darnell Mooney, he doesn't really take a whole lot of headlines, but pretty solid receiver when it's all said and done. And he's a good deep threat, so he's a good, him and Michael Penix should be thick as thieves with the way that Michael Penix slings the ball down the field. Ray McLeod, he is your number 3 receiver. Then you got Kadero Hodge, DJ Chark, Casey Washington. Now you're getting into Jamal Agnew territory back behind him. And of course you got Kyle Pitts at tight end, which... why not? If patterns hold, he'll have 5 touchdowns this year because he's increased his touchdown total by 1 touchdown each year he's been in the league. It's an incredible trend that I hope continues. We're getting the yearly Kyle Pitts hype out of training camp. Obviously, Michael Penix targeting him a lot. Don't fall for it, guys. Let's just all look ourselves in the mirror and admit to ourselves Kyle Pitts just wasn't what we thought he was. Doesn't have the acceleration, doesn't have the hands, doesn't have the mental discipline. Just isn't there. Just isn't there. And that's okay. Players bust all the time. And that's not a bad thing. But we can't just sit here and deny reality. Come on, boys and girls. We just gotta bite the bullet and admit to ourselves Kyle Pitts not that good. Not that good. But I think, I'm kind of here or there on the receiving core. I mean, it's like right at the Mendoza line, I would say. I think on the high end, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, not a bad 1-2. Ray McLeod, sure, as the number 3. Maybe it's a little bit above average of the receiving core. It truly all depends on Michael Penix when it's all said and done. Good news is he does have a pretty solid offensive line. Now, they did lose their center this last offseason in free agency, so they're bringing a new guy, Ryan Newsel. I'm unfamiliar with your game, sir, but I wish you all the best. And they got Matthew Bergeron at the left guard. But, of course, they got Jake Matthews, Caleb McGarry on the outside, who they just paid. Chris Lindstrom there at right guard. They got some players there on the interior. So, I don't know. It's to a certain extent, it feels incumbent on 2 things. The offensive coordinator and the quarterback. Not breaking any news there. That's pretty much how it's going to go for basically every offense in the entire NFL, I would say. But especially with how the offense performed last year, clunky at times, especially with all the high-end personnel that they have there. Michael Penix, still not entirely sure what he is, but we're excited to see. I don't know. I see a wide range of outcomes for this Atlanta Falcons defense. They could be a fringe top 10 unit if Michael Penix really comes on, if the offense kind of improves schematically from what they had last year, play call wise, all that sort of stuff. Or if Michael Penix isn't exactly what we expect him to be and the offensive coordinator does not progress a whole lot from what he did last year, this could be a not very good offense and we could see some firings in the middle of the season. So wide range of outcomes here. It's a very Falcons-y offense where it's some good players, good top end, but are you really sure it's going to go great? I'm not. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Jury's out on the Falcons offense. Defensively, better than last year. However, I do suggest prayer. Prayer will help. So Grady Jarrett's finally out of there. He's with the Bears now, which, I mean, it was time to let him go. He wasn't quite the player he once was, but I would say I wish him all the best on the Bears, but you got your money. That's what you came for. I don't wish you success, sir. Although if you do get it, good on you, I suppose. But on the defensive line now, we have got Morgan Fox, Rook Ohorooro. Probably butchered that name, but there you go. He's the nose tackle. Or Ruke. I don't know. David Onyemata there at the defensive end. So sure on the defensive line. Then we get into some questionable territory here. We got Jalen Walker and Leonard Floyd rushing on the outside. As far as your top 2 pass rushers, not going to rank up there highly in the NFL, I will say, especially not when you look at teams like the Vikings who are just deep as all hell. The Giants, for that matter. I mean, Abdul Carter. the reports coming out of training camp. I don't know if I predicted him to be the defensive rookie of the year, but if I didn't, I should have, because I think he is going to win that by a landslide at this point if he stays healthy. I think the reports coming out of camp are he showed up as advertised. He showed up as advertised. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of rookie defensive linemen talked about this way. I'll just put it that way. There's a reason he's bumping Kayvon Thibodeau out of the starting lineup, because there's no reason to start a Kayvon Thibodeau when you got an Abdul Carter. I'm just putting that out there, plain as day. But the Falcons don't have that. They have not a great pass rushing unit. And then in the inside, they got Caden Ellis, which, sure, solid enough player. And then who else? They got Divine Diablo, which just a hilarious name, I suppose. You got to kind of offset the bad juju with the good juju with the first name. But that's a front seven for you. Kind of incumbent on Raheem Morris to scheme it up there, I would say. On the back end, a little bit better. You do have one of the best safeties, if not the best safety in the league, in Jesse Bates. You got A.J. Terrell there on the outside. I do see Mike Hughes on the other side, which, that... Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal. I'll just put it that way. Shout out to former Vikings first-round pick Mike Hughes, though. You got Jordan Fuller as the other free safety there with Jesse Bates next to him. And you got D. Alford in the nickel position there. So I don't expect great things from this defense. I'll give them a nod of not being like in the lower end of the 20s because they do have Jesse Bates back there, and A.J. Terrell is a very good corner. I can't say I see him finishing above the Mendoza line. If we're talking that 16th defense, probably finishing below that, I would say. It's still very much a work in progress, and their GM has no idea what he's doing and somehow still has a job because he drafted the quarterback. Hey, if you're about to get fired, nothing better to do than to draft a quarterback, man. I mean, it worked for the Giants. It worked with Terry Fontenot for the Falcons. You're digging for gold here, baby. And while you're digging, they can't fire you. Otherwise, how are they going to know how the dig's going to go? I mean, that's just, you can't fire them before the dig is over. So, yeah, that's where we're at with the Falcons. On the whole, listen, they're basically the same team they were last year. I mean, the defense has a lot of holes. They have some good players on offense. I don't know, anywhere from like 7-10 to 9-8, we'll call it. I mean, they're pretty much perpetually in that range. And it could go even higher if Michael Penix is a little bit better. Maybe they bump that up to 10-7. I don't know. They just have some inherent flaws in the team that are going to keep them from really truly challenging the Buccaneers without a bevy of injuries in Tampa Bay, which you never hope for, I would say. They're the second team in this division, and there's admittedly a huge drop-off after the Falcons in this division. The bottom of this division is as stinky as the bottom of any division in the entire NFL, man, including the other Southern Division. They are bad. They are poo-poo stinky garbage. But that's where I see them. 7-10 wins, we'll call it. That's where I'm looking at with the Atlanta Falcons. They will somehow find a way to disappoint me, even with that happening. Wait, hold on. I just noticed something. Felipe Franks converted to tight end. I mean, he was never a quarterback there. I mean, shout out to Dan Mullen, taking a lot of quarterbacks outside of Dak Prescott that really weren't quarterbacks and running offenses with them. Did not know Felipe Franks was still in the league. Third string tight end for the Atlanta Falcons. How about that? But we'll keep it moving from there. What are we doing on time? Right now? 44 minutes. Beautiful. We're making good time. And that's even less on the front end because we had to open up some tabs here before we got started. So, beautiful stuff. Let me just get another swig. Oh, yeah, Lions are sustaining some injuries, too. We didn't talk about it with the headline, so I'll just hit on it briefly. But Enos Rakestraw is going to be out for probably a significant period of time based on the way Dan Campbell was talking with a shoulder injury. They lost rookie Dan Jackson to a leg injury. He's on IR. He'll be out for the season. So, yeah, not great. Not great right now, I would say, for the Lions. Also, I don't know that Dan Jackson's going to be out for the year. I just kind of assume. Injured leg, IR, you make assumptions at the end of the day. But again, I digress on that front. Let's get to the stinky bottom of this division here. And apparently, The Carolina Panthers did win a tiebreaker with the Saints last year. I did not know that. So they are the third team in this division. Last year, they tied with the Saints at 5-12, though. And you know what? I'm not spoiling anything to say that I don't think either of these teams are all that good. But you know what? At least the Carolina Panthers have something moving in the right direction here. So Bryce Young showed some flashes towards the end of last year. Seemed like he was really starting to come into his own, play some average quarterback play. Now you're expecting another step in the right direction for him coming into this year, and we'll just see how it works out. I am rooting for Bryce Young. He was put in an unenviable and downright awful position going into David Tepper's Carolina Panthers, and make no mistake about it, it is still David Tepper's Carolina Panthers, though he has been quiet this last season. You just hope he keeps his hand off the wheel and stays patient with this team in year 2 under this coaching staff. With Dave Canales and co. over there with the Carolina Panthers. Let's take a look at their offense, though. We got Bryce Young coming back. We'll see. Andy Dalton still the backup quarterback. I think that's an important relationship that has been invaluable for Bryce Young developing in his young career, especially towards the end of last year. I think he helped a lot with the confidence. Andy Dalton, about as good of a mentor backup that you can ask for. Guy that started a whole lot of games at the NFL level. Backfield, not too bad. They got Chuba Hubbard. They're bringing Rico Dowdle this offseason, or did they have him last year? I can't quite remember. Rico Dowdle, stud back there. Not the best running back, but he's an absolute sledgehammer and rushed for about 1 million carries with the Cowboys last year. He's going to get a lot of work. Trevor Etienne is your third-string running back there, and apparently Jonathan Brooks just didn't come back well off that ACL injury because he's nowhere to be found in the depth chart, which... rest in peace to that. I'm sorry, bud. I'm sorry. That sucks. That sucks a whole lot because he was expected to be very good at the next level. But what you got in there, Chuba Hubbard really coming around after a rocky start to his career. Not a bad 1-2 between Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle. Would you hope for more? Maybe, but they can do all you need them to do as long as the offensive line holds up their bargain. Wide receiver core, starting to kind of round into form here. So they bring in Ted McMillan and Teteroa McMillan. Mama likes him to say Teteroa McMillan. We're going to call him Teteroa McMillan. So Teteroa McMillan, they bring in at the number 8 overall pick. He slots in already as the number 1 receiver, which is not a great sign. But maybe he's just that much of a monster. He was a monster in college. His last season, he had a 300-yard game, like right off the bat in the season. Granted against like Northern Arizona or someone like that, but still 300-yard receiving game is a 300-yard receiving game, my friends. So he is there as your number 1. Adam Thielen is the number 2. We'll see who's actually the number 1 on this team. You would hope that Teteroa McMillan comes in as advertised in year 1 and takes that position by the balls. Adam Thielen, very capable receiver still at this point in his career, putting together a low-key Hall of Fame resume, I would say, at this point. Just got to keep her going for a couple more seasons, I would say, probably like 2 or 3. So maybe, we'll see. I love Adam Thielen, though, longtime Viking, obviously. Then Xavier Legette, I believe, first pick of the second round last year. Either that or last pick of the first round. I can't quite remember which one it was, but he's coming into year 2. You expect a little bit more from him. He just kind of showed flashes last year. A very fun player to listen to talk. I mean, about as country gets. So you want Xavier Legette to come in and do very well. That is my sincere and honest hope. Tight ends, you've still got Tommy Tremble holding down that starting spot. You got Jatavian Sanders, who you drafted last year at that tight end spot as well. Or did they draft him this? No, they drafted him last year. So another guy that you like to have in the building. You got Jalen Coker, who became a bit of a favorite for Bryce Young down the stretch last year. You're bringing Hunter Renfrow. We'll see what he has left in the tank. But was a really a crafty guy, a very, very everyman, a lunch pail type of guy running those routes. Very Wes Welker type of style of play. You get it. He's a white guy that plays like a white guy on the outside. I say on the outside, he's a slot receiver, but a guy that can move the chains, which I think Bryce Young, his smaller stature, that helps out a whole lot, I would say. That helps out a whole lot. So, I don't hate this receiving core. I think there's a lot of question marks to it. I mean, if you're giving me the option between this receiving core and the Vikings receiving core, I'll take the Vikings receiving core all day, but take what you can get. You're moving in the right direction. From abject disaster 2 years ago to where it is now with the Carolina Panthers, you are making solid incremental steps in the right direction, even with some instability in the organization overall. So I like the direction they're going in. I think they took a step up. Maybe not a huge step, but they took a step up this year, and it's all kind of incumbent on Ted McMillan and how he looks in year one. Sorry, Teteroa McMillan and how he looks in year one. The real question on this offense, though, it's not the receiving core, it's the offensive line. Ike Ekwonu coming back at left tackle. What is he going to look like in year 3? Damian Lewis slotting in there at left guard. What is he going to look like? Austin Corbett, center. Is he going to play a little bit better? Robert Hunt, you paid him all that money. He better come in and continue to play well. Taylor Moton over there at right tackle. What is this offensive line going to be? Are they going to keep trending in the right direction, or is the bottom going to fall out like what happened 2 years ago? We don't know right now. That's going to be the real determinant on what happens with this offense. I love Bryce Young. Well, here or there on his talent. I love Bryce Young as a guy. If he doesn't get good protection, he's not the type of next level athlete that's going to escape and make plays. And if you let Bryce Young get a great amount of pressure here, he's going to break in half. That's just the fact of the matter. He is a small guy playing against huge grown men. So you're going to have to worry about that. So you better hope that this offensive line plays well. If this offensive line plays well, Dave Canales had a move in there at the end of the season. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I believe they're going to be a top 10 offense, but they could certainly sneak their way into the top half of the league, be in that sneaky good category. Either way, I see them finishing more in the middle of the pack, which is good. It's moving in the right direction. That's really what you're looking for. I think they could have a good run-pass sort of scenario there, or run-pass mix there. I think that's what Dave Canales loves. I think he likes to... You're never going to be at 50-50. It's really kind of a run-heavy unit if you are 50-50. But closer to 50-50, the better, I think, for Dave Canales in his mind and philosophy, and it makes things easier for Bryce Young. So I trust Dave Canales and what he did in year 1, especially down the stretch of the year. You saw some real improvement in the team. We'll see what he does in year 2. You know what? I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here. I don't necessarily feel as bad as I have been. I think they're moving in the right direction as an organization. Dan Morgan, hit and miss as a GM so far, but we'll see if the moves that he has made pays off. That's really all you can ask for. So that's kind of how I feel about the offense. Defensively, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. The secondary is still a disaster right now. I mean, they got Mike Jackson, Trayvon Merrick, sure. Nick Scott, sure. J.C. Horn, maybe not so bad. And then you got Chow, or I'm going to assume Chow Smith-Wade at the nickel, which I'm not familiar with his game. A lot of question marks in the front end. Now, you do have Derek Brown. He is a stud. Bobby Brown III, what is he going to do? Tershawn Wharton, he's a young guy. What is he going to do? DJ Wanham? Listen, man, if DJ Wanham is one of your starters, you got some problems on the pass rush front, especially since your other defensive end, weak side or strong side linebacker, I'm getting all the positions wrong right now, is Nick Scorton, who is not known as a big-time pass rusher in college. He's more of a power guy. Now, if he can get pass rush moves, he's pretty damn good. I watched him in college last year at Texas A&M. He's a grown-ass man in there. He's going to be able to stop the run from day one. So if you want to do that, he can give you that. DJ Wanham rushing on the opposite side, that would give me some serious pause. Then between those two pass rushers, you got Christian Roseboom and Trevin Wallace, which you take that defense on the whole, add in, what's the defensive coordinator's name there? He's been there for several years at this point, somehow. I can't remember. He was a big-time head coaching guy. Christian Evero. No, not Christian Evero. Ejiro Evero. My goodness. Why in the world was that giving me so much trouble? But he's still the defensive coordinator as far as I know. He's believed to be very good. Unfortunately, he's been trapped on the Carolina Panthers, so it's questionable how good he really is. Is J.C. Horn going to stay healthy? Is Nick Scorton going to show up and actually be a very highly productive player? You're going to need him to be Derek Brown. You're going to need him to be all-world once again this year. I don't know. Optimistically, you hope for like the teens, maybe. That would be a huge improvement. Realistically, probably closer to the 20s and still probably giving up a lot of points this year. They're still a work in progress. Still a work in progress as a team. Overall, still kind of expect them to be a top 10 pick. I expect them to be kind of towards the back end of the top 10. Hey, maybe they can find their way to like 11, 12 even, if they play their cards right. But either way, could still be a 5-win team. I would bump up their floor though. I kind of feel like their floor is like 6 wins this year. They could be a 6-11 team, continue to show that little bit of improvement. I could see them getting all the way up to like 8, 9 wins though. They kind of have a bit of a wide range of circumstances. It all is very incumbent on how the offensive line plays and how the quarterback plays behind them. If those two kind of end up having a synchronization when it's all said and done, the offense can control the ball with that backfield, hopefully hit some big plays more so than they have in the past. I think that's a thing they desperately need this upcoming season is big plays down the field. Ted McMillan helps on that. That was his calling card in college, a big physical freak on the outside, and that is what you're hoping for bringing him in. I think the offense could be good enough to offset some of the deficiencies on defense, and I think they could play the right way to offset those deficiencies. So, yeah, I mean, in a bad division, very easily. I mean, coming off like a last place schedule or second to last place schedule in the division, why not? Why not the Panthers this year, man? There's always a team that comes out and surprises us. It was the Commies last year. Could be the Panthers this year. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. They got a lot of young players that could explode. We'll just have to watch them. We will just have to watch them going forward. But let's round this thing out with a discussion of, for my money, the worst team in the NFL coming into this year. The Cleveland Browns may have something to say about that. And they may have a good argument, but it's between those two teams. The New Orleans Saints, man. I guess to their credit, they both embraced the suck this year and did not embrace the suck. I think they were kind of forced to embrace the suck because the players that they were just tied up in salary cap wise all retired. Tyrann Mathieu just retired not too long ago. Obviously, Derek Carr retired. I think they had one other retirement I'm forgetting. Cam Jordan, this is most likely his last year, though I said that the year before that. And maybe they just keep progressively paying him lower and lower amounts just to keep him in the locker room and he sticks around because he loves being with the New Orleans Saints. I don't know. He's got a TV job waiting for him whenever he's done here. So I don't think he feels a whole lot of pressure one way or the other. Just a matter of how long he continues to play this game. And I think the Saints are going to keep him around as long as he wants to keep playing. I'll just be fairly honest with you. But that feel-good story aside, boy, is this team just stinky. It's just real bad. They were bad last year. They're going to be bad this year. I think every Saints fan should approach this season, and the Saints fans that I have talked to are seeing it the same way I'm seeing it. You have to lean into the suck this year to start moving in the right direction in 2026, 2027. 2028 is when you're really aiming for at this point. This could be a protracted rebuild. It all kind of depends on draft picks, those draft picks panning out. Mickey Loomis, it's put up or shut up time. You could either be fired, which there's a real argument to be made that after this season, Gail Benson might just use a bad performance as an excuse to get Mickey Loomis out of there, especially since you're not really super attached to your second round quarterback here. Mickey Loomis could be on the way out. We'll just put it that way. Or if he's not on the way out, could be elevating to like a team president role where he's more on the business side of things, kind of managing the overall day-to-day operations or the business side of things, less so on the football side of things. That seems to be a soft way of moving an incumbent GM that you had there for a long time out of the position. You already have precedent with this in John Elway in Denver. He won a Super Bowl there as a GM, and then gracefully, not so gracefully, I don't know the exact role there, he moves his way up to team president. George Payton comes in as GM to mixed results. Kind of got bailed out with Sean Payton coming in there, we'll just say, because he made some terrible decisions before that, but we conveniently forget that now that they're moving in the right direction, I would say. But enough bloviating. Let's get into the New Orleans Saints. And boy, there's no Saints fan that's going to disagree with me. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off here. Starting off on offense, Tyler Shuck is your starting quarterback. You hope that he starts the whole year, but as a young player, you can't exactly expect that. Tyler Shuck has an injury history on him. There's a reason he was in college for all that time, and it's not just the COVID years. He had some injuries to work through, and he is, an older, more seasoned player coming out of college. And I've brought this point up to my Saints fan friends really anytime I talk about Tyler Shuck, because I want to be optimistic, and I hope the kid does well. But ultimately, he spent, 6-7 years in college, moved around a lot, but it's not like he was working with scrubs as offensive coordinators out there. He had Jeff Brom at Louisville. He had Joey McGuire at Texas Tech. He had some good offensive coordinators calling plays for him, and guys that have been really good with quarterbacks, especially Jeff Brom last year. And Jeff Brom is a bit of a quarterback whisperer. He just has good years with any quarterback that seems to be in there, I would say. And that was probably his best year as a college player, but even then there was still just something missing as the sirens go by outside. These things happen. I don't know. I just feel like if Tyler Shuck was going to be that top-end type of player, he would have done it by now. He would have shown us it by now. And you can lull yourself into thinking like, hey, this kid might have something in Tyler Shuck. And I'm not saying that he can't, become a long time, you look up one day and you're like, hell, Tyler Shuck is still in the league 13 years later. I could absolutely see that bouncing around to different teams, being the backup quarterback. Hell, maybe if he's going to be on this rookie deal. There's no reason to get rid of him. Why not just find your way into the backup job here with the Saints? Now, I think if you're being honest with yourself, if you're Tyler Shuck, you want to put out some good games, trick someone into thinking that you can be a starter and give you a bunch of guaranteed money for, a low-end starter salary, ultimately prove them wrong, and then just go around as backup for the rest of your career. I think that's kind of where the Tyler Shuck thing is going. Kind of a similar path to the Mike Glennon route, if you will. Show some people some things, fool a couple bad GMs, at least one bad GM into giving you a lot of money, and then kind of making good backup quarterback money from there and retiring a multi-millionaire when it's all said and done. Good time to be a backup quarterback there. I think you'd be a solid backup, but as a starter, you're not going to convince me just because my eyes saw what I saw in college. And if he was going to be that next level sort of standout guy, I feel like I would have seen it by now. And that's just, even with Josh Allen, he was bad in college, but he showed you a lot of glimpses of what he could be. I don't think you saw the glimpses with Tyler Shuck. So I would temper expectations on Tyler Shuck being the next reincarnation of like a Jalen Hurts or something like that, because that's just not what we're looking at here. Also, Jalen Hurts had one of the greatest seasons of all time his last year in college. It just got a little bit overshadowed by a guy named Joe Burrow having the greatest season of all time. I digress on that front. So you already got some questions at quarterback. Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener are back there if, you're continuing to have problems. Lord forbid if you got to start Spencer Rattler. Not looking good. Already really not looking good with Tyler Shuck in there, but that would indicate either injury or poor play, which probably doesn't bode well for your record. Backfield, Alvin Kamara still there. Seems like it's about time for the running back wall to hit. He's had a lot of touches over a lot of years and sustained a bunch of injuries. So we'll see how long that lasts from here on out, but you hope that he is healthy coming in and able to give you something in the backfield. It's a travesty they did not trade him to a contender this offseason, but I digress. Kendre Miller there in the backfield, and then Devin Neal, who they just drafted as the third string. Don't be shocked if Devin Neal takes Kendre Miller's job. He was a monster at Kansas. And that's not a sentence you often say, but shout out to, who is it, Lance Leipold over at Kansas, one of the best coaches in college football. Devin Neal was a big reason for the success that the Kansas Jayhawks had over the last several years. Kendre Miller, he's okay. He's the second string running back now, but listen, I have a hunch that Devin Neal is going to end up taking his spot here at some point, whether it's in training camp or down the line. I just feel very strongly about Devin Neal as a player. On the outside, you have got Chris Olave. the man of a million head injuries, not named Tua Tagovailoa. Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks. You got Bub Means, great name, not so great a player. Kevin Austin Jr., Cedric Wilson. Now we're in that territory. You still got Juwan Johnson as your tight end, and of course your skeleton key, Taysom Hill, for however long you have him left. Wide receiver core. Listen, man, if Chris Olave could stay healthy, I wouldn't hate him as the number one, but I just don't love that that is your number one right now, because I'm just going to blanket assume he's going to get another head injury, and I don't want to assume that, but happens every year, so I'd be a fool not to at this point. Listen, I probably feel a little bit better about the wide receiver core if the quarterback was more proven or better, but I don't feel great about the quarterback, so I don't, by extension, feel great about the receiving core. Rashid Shaheed, though, very fun player and a very fun name to say, so shout out to him. Very good player. Hopefully he adds some explosion for the team. That's really all you can ask for. On the offensive line, though, that's where the rubber meets the road. So you bring in Kelvin Banks this offseason as your first round pick. That's a guy that you needed. You had the draft offensive line. Trevor Penning coming in there at left guard. Not played great, but we'll see if he picks it up. Eric McCoy as center. Been up and down throughout his career. Cesar Ruiz, yikes. Talise Fuaga, who I don't believe had a great first year at right tackle. Overall, a lot of question marks there on the offensive line. You're hoping Kelvin Banks steps in as a monster from day one. That would help things out a lot and maybe, help you buck some expectations here, particularly from me. But, listen, they're going to have to overhaul a lot of that offensive line. Really, the middle three in that offensive line most likely will not be there in a couple of years, I would say. Maybe with the exception of Eric McCoy. Saints fans seem to like Eric McCoy, I suppose. But Cesar Ruiz, Trevor Penning, I just don't know if they have a whole lot juice left in the tank, more than they've already given, I suppose. And that's not because they're old. It's just because maybe they missed on those picks back in the day whenever they picked them. So you look at the offense holistically, 20s or worse. Yeah, I mean, they could be one of the worst offenses in the entire league. And comes down to the offensive line and the quarterback, quite frankly. I don't really have a whole lot of faith in this offense whatsoever. We've already discussed my feelings on Tyler Shuck, and I am more than open to being proven wrong. I just don't think he's going to be a difference maker, and you're going to need a difference maker at quarterback to approach anything resembling average. Kellen Moore has got his work cut out for him with this offense. We'll see what he can do. We'll just see what he can do. Okay, so you look at the defense, and news doesn't get any better. In fact, the news might be a little bit worse on this side of the ball. Yeah, who cares? Who cares? I'm just looking at tweets on my phone. Obviously, Cam Jordan, still the starting defensive end there for however long that lasts. The fact that he is still a starter should tell you what you need to know about the defensive depth chart on this team. Devon Godchaux is the nose tackle, which a couple years ago, not bad. Now, we'll see. Kalen Saunders as your other defensive end. Carl Granderson and Chase Young as your outside rushers. Not ideal. Demario Davis and Pete Werner on the inside. Could be worse, honestly. Could be worse. Not a bad duo in there, but long in the tooth, Demario Davis. Been there for quite some time. On the outside, you bring in Kool-Aid McKinstry. On the other side, you got Alontae Taylor, Justin Reed on the back end, and Julian Blackman, who both of them they brought in this season. Julian Blackman they brought in recently to replace the outgoing Honey Badger. And then you got Ugo Amadi as the nickelback. Also, shout out JT Gray, Mississippi State Bulldog, absolute demon on special teams, has carved out quite a career for himself in that role. Just got to shout out that guy. Won't really feature in the defensive lineup, but as a coverage guy on special teams, one of the best out there. One of the best out there. But you look at this defense on the whole. Basically, you're just hoping Kool-Aid McKinstry shows up and is a star, and Justin Reed is what he has been throughout the course of the last several years in Steve Spagnuolo's team, or Steve Spagnuolo's scheme, rather, with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just going to not expect that. I don't feel very strongly on that conviction. We shall see. This is another one I'm expecting probably in the 20s. I don't expect this defense to be all that good. Where are you getting the pass rush from? I'm not going to just sit here and expect Chase Young to be a bona fide number one pass rusher. Carl Granderson, he hasn't really shown me much. Cam Jordan at this stage in his career, absolutely not, unfortunately. He may be good for like 5 sacks if you're lucky this season, and that would be a damn good season for Cameron Jordan at this stage in his career, I would say. You were hoping a guy like Brian Bresee wasn't third on the depth chart behind Jonathan Bullard, who is behind Cameron Jordan. Kind of speaks to a few of the shortcomings in the draft over the last couple of years, but I digress on that front as well. Really, it's just overall not a fantastic team. Don't feel great about it entering the season. I have not really strayed off of my conviction that this is going to be the number one overall pick, unfortunately. We'll see. Maybe the Cleveland Browns will prove me wrong here. It's going to be one of those two, I feel like. Maybe one of them is going to surprise us. Both of them will not. I have a pretty strong conviction that one of those two is going to be the number one overall pick. So the floor on this team could be like 2 wins. They could be just a god-awful football team that is horrible to watch. And I think a lot of Saints fans are bracing for that possibility. On the upside, even if Tyler Shough comes out and is like a solid, starting quarterback, which he has that opportunity to do, if the offensive line holds up a little bit, maybe they can climb their way into the low 20s, maybe even, peek their head into the teens momentarily. The defense is the defense, and I just don't see a way where it's going to be a good defense, or at the very least not a middle-of-the-road defense. I think they're going to be below average, and if you got a below-average defense, you got to have a good offense to win games. I just feel like the ceiling on this team is probably like 6 wins. Like, I don't see the ceiling being very high. I expect them to finish last in this division. I think they're basically the only team in the division that had regressed from last year. Maybe make the argument for the Falcons' regression this past year, but Panthers got better. Buccaneers, at the very worst, kind of plateaued, stayed the same. I do feel pretty strongly that the Saints are going to finish in last in this division, and I don't think any Saints fan's going to blame me for that. That's just the reality of life, unfortunately. So, with that, you know what? There you have it. That's the NFC South right there. I hope you all enjoyed this little preview. I hope you enjoyed the headlines, all that. If you did, give me a like, give me a subscribe, share it with your friends even who you believe will enjoy this podcast, I suppose, if and you want to. If not, I guess that's cool too, but maybe suck it up and share it anyways. Help me grow this thing a little bit. I am your host, though, Caleb Verzak. You can... Caleb V. We took out the last name. Sorry about that. I'm traceable now, I suppose. But you can follow me on the socials at Caleb VUA. Again, like, subscribe, follow. Thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got no clue what I'm talking about, and as it was last week, I don't have a fun fact for you. So I'll just take one that I learned today. The only country in the world with no native land mammals is New Zealand. They were all imported. Sheep, bats are migratory. They are also notably flying mammals. Believe it or not, no land mammals native to New Zealand. I did not know that up until just today. So, patterns hold. I'm a procrastinator at the end of the day. I'm going to go plug in my laptop and edit this thing before the battery dies. Good talk. We will be back next week with work our way around the clock here. Over at the 9 o'clock position, now we're looking at the Western divisions, starting with the AFC West. Damn good division. Very, very interesting division, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to dive headfirst into it next week. Until then, enjoy the week. Enjoy your weekend. This is the start of a torrid stretch of travel weekends for me, so hope you all enjoy it. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Until then, adios.